Welcome to Built Different. I'm Erin Sykes, business analyst, real estate professional, and someone who's endlessly curious about the systems that shape how we live, grow, and spend. Each week, I dive into the markets, mindsets, and moments that define our lives, from real estate to wealth, psychology, relationships, and everything in between. Because what we build is not just financial, it's human.
Hi, I'm Kandace Kichler, and I am built different because I center my life around transformation, whether that's within myself, transforming from a general surgeon to a cosmetic plastic surgeon, or transforming my patients' bodies or my physical location. Transformation is how I'm built different.
Welcome back to Built Different. I'm Erin Sykes, and today we have Dr. Kandace Kichler. She is a board-certified physician, widely known as the Slimming Surgeon, and founder of Slim Inc. She has built a modern aesthetic and wellness practice that blends medical expertise with cutting-edge treatments in body contouring, metabolic optimization, and longevity-focused care. Through her growing social media presence and storefront model, she's redefining what accessible, physician-led beauty and biohacking can look like in today's market. Welcome, Kandace.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Of course. So about a year, maybe two ago, we initially did your podcast called The Slimming Surgeon.
Yes.
And at that time I said, I shouldn't really do one of these. And you said, yeah, definitely you should get on the bandwagon because times are changing.
Times are changing.
And it only took me 2 years to get on that bandwagon, but
you're a busy lady.
I don't think anyone's as busy as you. I really don't.
I know you say that. And I'm like, I truly always feel like I can be doing more.
Yeah.
It's kind of a flaw.
Well, I think it's a blessing and a curse when you're very driven and when you're very, naturally you can handle a wide bandwidth. So you keep pushing yourself. And, here you are, you're a mom of two.
Yes.
And you are a practicing surgeon.
Yes.
I think that's first and foremost before, of course, marriage, kids, first and foremost.
Yes.
But in terms of your business, that's how I originally followed you is through your surgery practice.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy because I literally do surgery, like operate on humans, but then I have all these other hats that I wear. And some days I, wonder, am I doing too much? But most days not. And I truly love every single aspect of what I'm doing. And they're all related. Yes, I'm doing surgery, but I'm also helping people internally as well as externally and psychologically.
Yeah.
So for me, when people question how much I'm doing, it's like, well, yes, I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm helping them with their aesthetics, with their wellness, and with their weight, but it all goes together.
Absolutely. And I think that's what the general population is learning because of the visibility of GLP-1s and the weight loss community. There are kind of different, obviously very strong opinions, but different forays, different ways to get to the same end now. Whereas maybe initially people just went direct to surgery.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be, okay, I don't like the way I look. I'm either going to do this massive crash diet and yo-yo for my entire life, or I'm going to go get liposuction, get everything sucked out of me. It was very much extreme. But now we have found that there are ways to balance everything, not just your weight, but also your hormones, your inflammation, your longevity markers. And that can be enhanced with surgical procedures that are now much less invasive than they used to be.
Yeah. Now, how do you go about your client initial consultations? Do you normally have people that know exactly what they want, or are they questioning all of the above before they come to see you?
Right. So that's the beautiful part of Slim Inc. That's kind of what I designed, was to make it a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I have people come in and I let them start the conversation. If they're coming to me for surgery, great. And we start with surgery. But during that conversation and during that process, obviously we're going to hit on, what medications are you taking? Oh, you're already on a GLP-1. Or, oh, you are on X, Y, and Z weight loss medication. Oh, you got peptides from the internet. Whatever it may be, we kind of will end up touching all the other aspects of what I do through the process. And people who come to my office, I don't look at them as like a one-time visit. I look at them as a family member who's going to come back multiple times, who we want to take care of in all aspects, not just one. So likewise, if they come to me for weight loss, at a certain point, they may have enough loose skin where they want to do something about it. And then we have that conversation. But it's never pressured. It's never like, okay, I do all the things, so you have to do all the things here. It's not like that either.
Mm-hmm. Do you find a lot of people are doing the GLP-1 thing on the internet?
Well, in general, approximately 6% of the population is on a GLP-1. Okay, which is a lot. In some cases, you might think it's more. Like in Florida, it's probably more. But 6% is a very large percentage. Like no other medication is 6% of the population taking. So I do find that. And where they're getting them varies. Some are getting it from their primary care physician and they're getting name brand products like Ozempic and Wegovy. Others are doing compounded medications through safe pharmacies. And then, occasionally I'll hear, oh, I got it from my friend who like mixed it for me and like really crazy stuff. And we educate and redirect in those situations, of course.
Yeah. And in terms of your time spent, is it mostly those conversations now? Or how much are you practicing surgery versus spending time in your storefront doing more of the, non-surgical aesthetics and wellness?
Yeah. So I have a nice blend. I would say about 50% of my week is spent operating, like doing procedures, all the way from a full mommy makeover down to some non-invasive skin tightening or a minor procedure in the office. So there's a wide array of what surgery can mean. Mm-hmm. But yes, I'm doing procedures about 50% or more of my week. The other 50% is dedicated to my clients, consultations, follow-ups, like making sure medications are accurate and serving their purpose and their need. And then doing follow-ups and surgical care and aesthetics, all the things on that other majority of the week.
What's the number one want or need that people come in with?
Skin tightening.
Is it possible to tighten skin?
It is possible. Okay. So it used to not be. If you would have asked me that 6 years ago, I would have been like, aside from surgically cutting and removing the skin, no. But technology has gotten really amazing. And when you combine a liposuction type procedure with some of the devices that are on the market now, like specifically Renuvion, you can see 70% skin tightening.
What's Renuvion?
It's a J plasma, essentially a laser for like the general population. And after we do maybe some liposuction or even just opening up the skin to allow me to place that device, under the skin, I run the laser. So it's actually targeting the portion of the skin that will allow for contraction versus all the other things on the market were topically applied. The J plasma or Renuvion, whatever you want to call it, the trade name, actually works. So combining that with a little bit of liposuction or contouring, you can see dramatic changes without scars.
What is the downtime for something like that?
48 hours.
What?
No, truly. I had it done myself.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in it, right?
Yeah, mental note.
Yeah. So skin tightening is by far the biggest complaint because of GLP-1s, because everyone is able to lose weight now effectively and rather quickly. So whereas before, if you lost weight, you would gradually lose it 1 to 2 pounds a month and your skin has more time to like retract. When you lose weight quickly, that elasticity sometimes can't catch up with the weight loss. Therefore, the loose skin is there. It is something that we have to manage. And I tell people, if you are in the process of losing weight and your skin's already starting to show some of those signs, it might be a good time to do the procedure during the journey versus waiting until it's so much skin that you do need surgical excision.
So maybe step by step or stage, you might do that J plasma or Nuvion multiple times. Maybe
you could.
Somebody lost 30 pounds.
Yeah.
They do it the first time. They lose another 30 pounds.
Right.
They do it again.
Yeah.
Versus having to excise skin.
Correct.
At the end.
Yeah. Right. And that makes a huge difference because, some of us are not afraid of scars, but a lot of us are. And a lot of us are also afraid of general anesthesia. The thing with the skin tightening and a little bit of liposuction, that can be done awake. So you don't have to be put under. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, am I going to wake up to see my children? Those things are out of the conversation now. So that's truly how things have advanced.
That's interesting. So people they lose the weight.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decide skin tightening along the way or skin tightening later. What about the mommy makeover stuff where it's not just about weight loss?
Right. So a mommy makeover, and we're now also referring to them as menopause makeovers because our body changes dramatically both during and around pregnancy, but also during and around menopause. And women can go through similar transformations in their body that they want a little help. So a mommy makeover typically involves some type of procedure for the breast and some type of procedure for the abdominal area. So in some cases, the abdominal region can be addressed with just a little contouring and skin tightening, but other times it does require a tummy tuck, depending on if your muscles are truly stretched out, it's causing you issues with, doing core exercises or back pain, or just an unsightly contour of the lower abdomen. That's when a tummy tuck might be indicated. And then for the breast, you've got like 7 different options. You could do a lift, you can do a reduction, we can put implants, we can take out implants. Everything is customizable. And it's really just a conversation with your surgeon. Like, what do you want? What do you want to see? And what are your realistic goals? I have people come in all the time for breast surgical consultations. And in today's age, not a lot of people want implants. So they always assume I'm going to tell them they need implants. And I'm like, look, it's your body. I'm not going to tell you you have to have a breast implant, this device that, is technically a lifelong device because you might want to replace it, exchange it, all the things, versus what you want. If you're super active and you're happy with the contour of just a lift or a reduction, why would I do that? So
yeah. Now I saw somebody on your Instagram and I forget her name. She had removed her breast implants years ago.
yes,
Waited it out. And remind me of her name first.
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Mhm.
Okay. And she came up with a whole bra line about
Yes.
loving yourself and loving your new body post explant.
Mhm.
But now she recently had aloclay.
She didn't have aloclay. She
Okay.
had fat transfer.
Okay.
So she used her own native fat. We did a body sculpting procedure with some skin tightening and removed fat from different areas like her arms, her waistline, her inner thighs, her knees. Like she was relatively thin. So we had to look in multiple areas to find enough fat. And then I basically used that fat and injected it back into her breast in the specific areas where she was lacking volume. Typically, after an implant, you will have some fullness in the lower pole of your breast, like the part that sits right along the underwire, but the upper pole tends to be missing volume. So when you wear a top, you don't have a lot of cleavage. And while most patients after explant are fine with not having cleavage, a lot of people are still young and they still want to feel great in their outfits and they don't want to rely on a push-up bra all the time. So that's where fat transfer or something like aloclay can be used to just give a little enhancement that's more natural.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is probably trending, right? Because
Totally.
a lot of people don't want the implants anymore.
No.
I know a lot of friends talking about getting explant surgery. And I think that's a great option because especially after they have kids, they've breastfed, and then they say, well, I don't want to just feel like, pancake flat.
Exactly. So fat transfer is an option, and aloclay, which is technically cadaver fat that has been irradiated so it doesn't have the donor DNA in it, that can be utilized. But your own fat is great. If you can get it that way, easy peasy. But otherwise, aloclay is also a non-invasive procedure or less invasive procedure where you don't have to have something else liposuctioned in order to obtain the fat.
Mm-hmm. Like one less step in the process too.
Right. And a little bit less recovery.
Is it really expensive?
Yes.
Of course.
To be so honest, it is not cheap. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. This is not a really appropriate analogy, but think about like hair extensions. Like if you want real hair, it's got to come from someone who grew that hair and then it gets processed and then it gets installed. It's kind of the same thing. Like
you're paying multiple parties along the way.
It gets donated by someone, then processed, sterilized, made sure it was safe. And then you have to find a surgeon who will inject it for you the way you want it. So, but yes, I do offer aloclay.
Interesting. Now, when people are going into surgeries, any of the above that we've already discussed, do they work on optimizing their bodies before surgery? And is that something that you can help with? Is it blood work? Is it panels? Is it different GLPs? Maybe that they're working through some type of recharge before they go in for the full surgery?
Yeah. So fortunately, a lot of the patient population here in South Florida are relatively healthy. Like you and I, we're fit, we're in a good body weight range. We are cautious of what we're eating and drinking and things like that. And that tends to be the majority of my patient population, fortunately. But I do have that conversation. If someone comes in and they're still trying to reach their goal weight and they're over 15 pounds away from that, then we talk about all the other things that we can do to get them ready before we go into the operating room. But yes, peptides are a conversation that we have. Weight loss is a conversation that we have because you want to feel good going into procedure. This is elective. This is not emergency. You don't have to have it when you're sick. You should have it when you're relatively healthy, and it's just an enhancement of what you've already done internally.
Do you have to be fully off GLP-1s before you go under anesthesia?
Under anesthesia, yes, for approximately 2 weeks. That's what most anesthesiologists will recommend or demand, basically. For an awake procedure, you don't. So that's another benefit of doing something less invasive.
And what's the reason for that?
So the GLP-1s delay your stomach emptying. So even if you haven't had a large meal for several days, something may still be held in your stomach reservoir. And if you have anesthesia and Lord forbid you aspirate, it could cause a problem. So that's why most anesthesiologists will recommend that you're 2 weeks off of the GLP-1s and the 24 to 48 hours prior to the procedure, you really stick to a mostly liquid diet. So because that empties faster than food.
Got it. And what are some other peptides that you're using a lot?
So I personally use BPC 157.
Love.
So great. I really only do it like once or twice a week, but I feel like that little boost really does help me. Glow, which is a combination of BPC 157 with TB 500 and copper, is really great for skin and hair, nail collagen building. So I like those. I do have some patients who want the Sermorelin, Ipamorelin, which are growth hormone stimulating if they're losing weight but wanting to build muscle. But I tend to let the patient's symptoms guide me. What are you feeling? What do you want to feel? How did you feel 10 years ago? And what are we doing about that? NAD is a good example of something that we can give that can kind of increase your longevity and give you like a boost to feel good, but some people don't like it. So I really go by what you're feeling, what you want to feel, and how we can get you there safely without injecting 17 things a week.
That was a challenge for me because I was taking BPC for at least probably 3 to 6 months, somewhere in there. And it was compounded with TB 500. Great.
Yeah.
Now, my experience with that was phenomenal overall. However, it took 2 full weeks for me to kind of ramp up. I was so exhausted because I think my body had like truly deep healing to do.
Yeah.
A lot of old injuries, I swear going back decades, that it took care of, and now I feel great. But separate from that, I was injecting the not glow, but just the copper peptide alone, which I found burned.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, when you do compound it with the glow, does it burn like that?
No.
See, I would have preferred that. And only one injection.
Right. One injection. And I typically cycle people on glow for like 4 to 6 weeks. So you do it for 4 to 6 weeks and then you take some time off and then you can do it again, but it's more tolerable.
Yeah.
Have you done NAD plus?
That is, at least 2-3 years of doing NAD. I think that makes you so much more sharp. And the energy. And I was doing it primarily for like a fertility hack.
Sure.
Because I'd been doing, I've done 10 rounds of IVF. So it was one of the main components. And this is not something doctors are telling me. Like no IVF doctor, no fertility doctors has ever said, oh, you should do red light therapy or hyperbarics or, try peptides or Sermorelin, things to get your growth hormone going. I'm just deep Googling late at night and like putting myself on my own programs, which, for better or worse, but at least I know I'm my own guinea pig. Yeah. And then you can bring the information back to these other types of doctors. Maybe they start recommending it in their practice, maybe not, but at least you're like trying something.
Yeah. There are not a lot of conventional physicians who know a lot about peptides or care to learn about them because it's not something we're taught in medical school. So it really takes a certain provider who's going to do that deep dive with you or for you, because at the end of the day, we're all learning this together. Many of them have been around forever, and we know the safety profile, we know the long-term benefits of them, but using them specifically in your body, it is somewhat of an experiment, and we have to see how well you tolerate it or not, if it's going to help with your fertility or not. But not a lot of people are willing to even do that.
Yeah. And it's very expensive. And there's not FDA approvals for these things. So it's challenging then when you're with a very conventional minded doctor and they can't see the ROI directly. Is it going to be worthwhile for them to stick their neck out on a limb?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's where going to a functional medicine doctor, going to a practice like Slim Inc., where you have all of the tools in your toolbox. Maybe somebody doesn't even know why they need to come see you. Maybe they just feel off, but you can help them decode above and beyond what their traditional doctor said.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. Now, what else are you doing at Slim?
So first and foremost, obviously, we're doing cosmetic surgery. And like I mentioned before, everything from awake procedures to full transformations. And then we have like 4 pillars of the practice, essentially. There's cosmetic surgery, there's the weight loss and wellness. That's, truly centered around feeling good and looking good. Aesthetics, which is where I started in this industry, the Botox, the fillers. But again, I'm going out there. We've got PDGF, we've got biostimulators, we've got things that are newer to the market, the salmon sperm, the big trend word. And then I have a skincare line. So it's truly whatever you feel like you may need. I probably have something that we can talk about and that can help you and push you in the right direction.
Yeah. Now, your practice is physically in West Palm?
Yes, West Palm Beach. I'm in So-So area.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've driven by quite a few times.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful visibility. And I think that kind of brings us to the real estate tie-in for this topic is, why do you think that you needed a physical space of your own? Because I know that you had worked under major practices before, but what was that transition like?
I feel like a physical space is a representation of your brand. And nowhere else I'd been before truly felt like it represented me and what I wanted my patients to experience. So after, having my divorces or whatever we want to call it, my changes and adjustments in which practices I was working for, or through that process, I really realized like I need to have my own space where I can steer the conversation and really make someone feel like they're at home. Okay, so you can't do that if you're in a big office building that's cold and ugly and has no visibility. I wanted something that was more like a boutique, like a one-stop shop, but very concierge. So you walk in, there's not 10 other people there waiting. Everyone has their own time slot. It's truly something you think about every single aspect, for when someone walks up to the door to when they leave. Like, what are they experiencing? What are they smelling? What are they seeing? What is the greeting that they're getting? What are they being shown when they sit down? Where are they sitting down? Where are they sitting down next? Who's guiding them through that process? How are they greeted, in each area? And then how are they exited from the space? Like, all of those things have a huge impact on how you're perceived, whether or not they're going to purchase, because at the end of the day, we're all in sales, no matter what field you're in.
Correct.
And if they're going to come back or not. And I don't want people who are going to see me one time and I never see them again. Like, I invest more money in having a lifetime client than I will in having Groupon people who just want to come in for a cheap Botox and never see them again. That's not what it's about, and a waste of my energy.
Absolutely. And I like the setup of where your office is located, because there's also privacy upon exiting. So
super important.
If you get a laser, I've done lasers in big office buildings. I mean, in New York City and Beverly Hills, like, it's the most embarrassing thing when you walk out with this bright red face. You have to go down an elevator bank, and maybe there's like lawyers coming off of their lunch breaks and other types of people that are just like in and out, and it's awkward.
It's so awkward. And that's really like I had that intention with this space. I wanted a freestanding space. I didn't want to be in a building with a lot of other tenants because you don't know if those tenants are going to change over and be completely the opposite of what you want your patient to experience. Like, can you imagine if I was next to like a dog grooming space and there was like yapping the entire time I'm injecting? That would be horrible.
It's not
the
therapeutic.
vibe.
No.
Not the vibe. Not therapeutic at all. And like you said, I specifically looked for a space that would have a private parking spot where someone could exit through the back, or if they're post-op, they could come in and go out through the back. So I have a private parking spot. It's labeled with my name. So when we have like a VIP client or someone who is pre or post-op that wants that privacy, we tell them to park in that spot. All of these things are huge when it comes to having a business.
Absolutely. Now, take me through the evolution of your career and where you started, how you eventually got to Slim Inc.
Okay, so I grew up on a farm. No, I'm a general surgeon by residency training. I did fellowship in bariatric surgery. So I was performing and practicing as an attending physician, doing metabolic bariatric, like gastric balloons, gastric bypass, gastric sleeves, like intense weight loss surgery for approximately 4 or 5 years. During that time, I've always had an affinity towards aesthetics. During that time, I opened a med spa with a partner. And I would inject on the weekends, on the evenings, whenever made sense for my clients. And it started obviously as like friends and family. And then I was given the opportunity to do a second fellowship strictly in cosmetic plastic surgery. So I went and did a full year of training of everything from facelifts, earlobes, breast, tummies, liposuction, the full gamut of cosmetic plastic surgery. I ended up working for a private practice for approximately 4 years with the same people who trained me. And then that's when I, decided it was time to spread my wings a little bit and move on to where I'm at now. So I have that background of general emergency care surgery. Like I know where your spleen is. I know I'm not going to hit it with a liposuction cannula versus not everyone has that background. And then I have the obesity medicine component. So while I was a bariatric surgeon, I got board certified in obesity medicine. So that's why I know so much about the GLP-1s. And it made me interested in peptide therapy. So all of our experiences obviously shape us. And then I have a background working in sales when I was in college. So, everything comes together.
Yeah, I feel like you are definitely made for the aesthetics community. Like that makes complete sense. But the journey to get there makes also complete sense because you do have all of those tools in your toolbox that a lot of times my complaint with most doctors is that they don't look beyond their own 4 walls.
Right.
And you have a much more holistic view.
Yeah. And I think that's how I would want to be treated. At the end of the day, I'm a consumer just as I am like a provider of services. And I know what I would want to feel. I know what I would want to see. I know what I want my provider to look like, because at the end of the day, if you can't walk the walk, you can't talk the talk.
Correct. Correct. It's a wonder that half of the people even make it in their careers. If we were just talking when we first walked in about different real estate agents, I mean, I see so much unprofessionalism in my line of work.
Oh my God. The offer on my house, the real estate agent almost folded and texted my agent, "Oh, they can't make it work. Sorry." Sorry? You're just going to text that? It's like you didn't even want to call and say what they're willing to pay? Yeah.
No, it's like being broken up with on a Post-it note.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem with now my gripe with Florida in particular is that there hasn't necessarily been that much truly like corporate experience down here. We're really expanding so fast in greater Palm Beach area that it's almost such a trajectory and a momentum that the population hasn't caught up yet. And I think that it's very evident in the medical community. It's very evident in the real estate community where there's a bifurcation in the market and you either get somebody incredibly professional and very well-versed or you get an absolute quack.
Oh my God. Yeah. Exactly. That I think is also why I love the experience that I had, because I worked in a hospital setting for a corporation in that big academic type setting. But then I also served my time in a very intense private practice. And I've been able to blend those experiences to what a patient may want.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think is on the next page with beauty? Like, where are we going?
It's all moving towards less invasive. It's moving towards what can we do with low downtime and what can we do with regenerative medicine. So more natural, more holistic options like the PDGF, platelet-derived growth factor, like using your own fat. That's using your body's own stem cells. Things like that people are gravitating more towards versus the artificial fillers. They have their place, they have their role, but less is more, less downtime, less fake stuff. We want to look like a beautiful, enhanced version of ourselves, not crazy like the cat lady.
Yeah. And I have noticed people aren't all looking like each other anymore. We went through this 5 to 10 year period where everybody had the Kardashian face.
Yeah.
And I think now we're circling back to looking like yourself, but refreshed.
Exactly. And a lot of dissolving has been happening. The way, way, way overdone lips don't really exist anymore. And if you're doing them, people just stare at you.
Yeah. Now, can you have lip laxity after you dissolve a bunch of filler?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like anywhere on your face. If you really stretch those fibers out beyond what they're supposed to hold, and then you deflate quickly, you could have that laxity. It should rebound with time, and you can do some things to encourage that rebound, but no, it's possible.
Okay, so consistently, if you are either dissolving filler or if you are dissolving yourself with a GLP-1 or a diet or, some other method, slow is better because your body can tighten back up itself.
Yes, it can. And you can do things to encourage it while you're doing that. Like, let's say you're losing some volume in your face. While you're losing, do a little round of Sculptra, biostimulator that doesn't fill the face but encourages collagen stimulation. Do some microneedling, do some radiofrequency. Like, there are things you can do to encourage that natural process. But at the end of the day, the older we are, the less collagen, the less elastin we have. So you've got to just also battle time.
Got it. And what is on your agenda with Slim Inc. in terms of the next 6 months, next year? What can we expect?
I am really focused on just enhancing that patient experience. Like, I want everyone to have a 5-star experience, to really feel at home. I don't have new plans, new services, things like that offered because what I'm doing is so comprehensive. And I just want everyone to feel that. The growth is already happening. My doors have been physically open for only just a month, and I'm almost fully booked every single day that I'm there. So it's really just finding the right people, keeping those people, nourishing the relationships, and time will tell.
Absolutely. And where can people find you?
So my physical storefront, which is beautiful, is on Dixie Highway in West Palm in the Soso area. But Instagram is my main form of social media. It's at Slimming Surgeon. My website will soon be slim.inc, but that's being built out. Right now it's CandaceKichlerMD.com. And if you wanted to text me, our phone number is 561-505-SLIM.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming, sharing, the hacks. And you are always my first call for anything aesthetic. So I'm glad you are here in the community with your own spot now.
Yes, babe. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Built Different with Erin Sykes. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please be sure to rate, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. For more insights and updates, follow along on Instagram and share this episode with someone who's building their own version of success. Until next time, keep building a life of value because we're all built a little different. I record Built Different at Pod Plus Studios in Jupiter, Florida. To reach my real estate team, visit sykesproperties.com, and to reach me directly, email Erin@sykesproperties.com.